I am very excited, and I hope you are too, because I decided today to pull my very first casual video day card. For all those who don't know what it is supposed to mean, it is a video that is done in one take and usually only one attempt, even though I had already a few ones, but I just didn't get quite into it, so those don't really count. But it should make an usually dry tablet review way more enjoyable for you and easier to make for me, since this device involves actually too much passion from my side, because I did not expect to like this so much, and I was so close to buying one. But despite all of that, I'm gonna let you know in this review why it didn't quite happen for me, but why you should have it way more on your radar that you might expect. So let's get into the first thing. Actually, let's start off with a size comparison with the Surface 6 Pro, just so you know what we are dealing with. So it is noticeably smaller and also lighter, and this is the form factor's benefit. This is an advantage because this is pretty much exactly as big as an iPad Air 2. And this is a proven, well accepted form factor, and it works great here. I mean, obviously, yes, you can see the bezels aren't the smallest ones, and many people say you need to grip to hold on to. But I have to say, due to this device having such a good weight distribution and everything else, they could have actually shaved off like half of the bezel, just put a bigger display in it, because just in terms of actual size, I am super happy with that, because I grabbed this so many times because it's just so much more convenient. And for example, if I have this lying around, and if I have the Surface 6 Pro lying around and the phone, and I want to get something done, I grab this because it's so lightweight and easy. It's so well built, and for me the biggest thing is this stand. If an iPad would have a stand, things would be quite different, but this stand is just so handy because you can just put it everywhere you want to. You can have it in all different kind of angles. I mean, you all know the benefit of that, but I mean, it is the big thing. This can't be replaced with anything else. Now what we have here is the headphone jack, USB Type-C, which we don't have on the big one, unfortunately. The dock connector, which is a little bit too loose from the magnets on my side here. We have the cutout to easier open it. Nothing on the left side. On the top we have the volume controller and the power button, which I think could have been maybe on a different position, because sometimes if you want to bump the volume up, you press this button, but otherwise it's fine. Like I said, build quality is great. Don't really want to get into that. Obviously, the Windows Hello camera, the two speakers, which are quite a big thing. On the bottom, obviously, the connector for the keyboard that we will get into a second, but let me turn it on. And let me tell you that Windows Hello works good, but not nearly as fast and good as on the Surface 6 Pro. A little bit unfortunate, but that's that. So we covered the design, so let's get into the keyboard. And yes, this definitely triggered my microphone. So what is there to say about the keyboard? I really like it, because we obviously still have the option to attach it so we get an angle. For many people, their concern was that this is too small for great typing, and yes, it's not quite properly done for 10-finger typing, but I got used to it so quickly, and you can type on it so quickly. You have a great feedback, I have to say that, great travel. It doesn't really flex too much. If you just normally type, it's fine. We also have backlight in 2 steps, which is nice, along with the nice design here. Obviously, there is the signature version. It feels a little bit more premium. And then we have a trackpad that's easily big enough, and it works really good with precision trackpad features. So yes, this is a total win, this package. I mean, just think about it. You carry this around. And what I actually did so many times, I found myself doing that. If I used it as a tablet on the bed or on the couch, I used it like this. So I had it on my lap, and then I just used it. And whenever I needed to type, I just did this. This is so convenient. I mean, I use this way more on the small one. On the big one, not so much, because then the form factor isn't just there. But believe me, that is really good. This is really good. Very well done. No flex or anything, or I mean bigger flex. That's that. Now, display. We covered the bells. What is there to say about the display? I mean, resolution of 1800 by 1200, I have to say, is one of my smaller gripes, because if you use the default scaling of 150%, normal text looks fine, but the moment you want something with a little bit more screen real estate and get the font a little bit smaller, you see that it fringes out and it is not quite perfect. That's the one thing that I slightly would have enjoyed. So a high resolution would have been nice, because I've noticed, for example, the Dell Latitude 7290 that I have here, 5290 could have been also the thing, is also a Surface competitor that I will actually compare all of them, because the Surface 6 Pro is here, the Latitude, and the X1 from Lenovo, the tablet. So all standalones. I kind of like the term more than a convertible. And that one has also 1080p resolution on a bigger surface, and yet it feels actually better. I mean, I would have wished at the end to be for the resolution, because you have this way closer to you and that's why you see the fringing up. But usually it's totally fine, the resolution. The display on its own, maybe not quite as accurate and quite as high quality and quite as good as on the Surface 6 Pro, but it's very bright. I used it at about 65%, where I used the Surface with 60%. So easily bright enough, great colors. You will definitely enjoy this display. Absolutely. Now, sound, let's actually get into that real quick. Yep, absolutely. For this size, really nice, warm and rich sound, doesn't distort, it is front firing, totally great. I mean, yes, the Surface 6 Pro is better, and I will show this in my comparison, but for this size you can't really expect it, and it definitely sounds way better than any normal iPad Air 2. I'm not quite so sure about the Pro, didn't really use that one, so I can't judge it, but it's a great sound. I personally still would have wished for it to be a little bit louder, because then, if it would have been like 20% louder maybe, or maybe even 10, I would have never even needed any other sort of external speaker like a Bluetooth speaker. In most cases then it would be totally enough. But if I just watch a YouTube movie or even a TV show, this is still easily more than enough, because it sounds really good. Now, performance. Actually forgot to measure the disk speeds, but you can get them. Maybe I will actually put them on, but the way I know myself, I won't. But the boot up time is not that quick. It takes like 12, 13 seconds from a cold boot for some reason, also when you restart. So this is not that fast, but the big concern about so many people is the performance. And I can tell you the following, something that I didn't really see in other tests, so therefore I want to get into it. The browsing performance. Because I mean, we can quickly cover apps. Apps from the store all run super sweet, and you can jump between the apps with the multitasking very nicely, and everything is responsive and actually way better than you would ever expect. So this is good. But now let's get into the browsing performance. If you use Edge, which is this one here, and oh, you can actually hear my lens, so let's do this from this distance. Smooth, responsive, but there is one issue that I have with it. Maybe you can see that. The moment I will flick and then just lift off, it actually boosts the scrolling a little bit again, which is so annoying. So you can see, it doesn't always happen, but usually if I just have my normal speed, as you can see here, now obviously showing it off, it doesn't work, but usually you lift and then it goes a little bit forward. I mean, it's hard to show, but it is definitely a noticeable thing. I mean, I didn't really prove it all that well, but this annoyed me because it's not present on the Surface 6 Pro, it's not present on any other tablet. So maybe it's due to the size. I played with the scaling, but I didn't get it away, so this was a little bit annoying. Every time I lift, it just kind of still goes further. Yeah, super bad at demonstrating it. Now you might think about an option with Chrome. I don't think so. So many times when I scroll, it actually kind of gets stuck in mid-scrolling. Obviously it doesn't happen now again, but it did, as you can actually see now it happened. See, sometimes it goes and then it gets stuck. I also have to mention though, all browsers, if it's Firefox, if it's Chrome, if it's Edge, with the touchpad, smooth, with a mouse, smooth, you can use all of them with that. But if it's for touch, it's Edge, it's not Chrome. And what it actually might be for you is Firefox, because I did not expect Firefox to run that nice. I mean, yes, it's a little bit at first like dragging it through mud, because it's not the fastest scrolling, but this is actually a very natural speed if you just want to quickly glance through the site, and it feels very natural. There is no real kind of touch scroll issue and so on. So I like that. All the apps run fine. I mean, sometimes if you launch an app, or if you jump to a certain Explorer window, or if you jump between the apps like this, you definitely see a delay, and it's not super responsive, not nearly as good as a Surface 6 Pro. But let's not forget that this is not supposed to be a desktop replacement. This is kinda in between, because it's way more powerful than an iPad, just because it is running on Windows, and you can do, if you want to do everything else, and I didn't really bother with Windows 10s. Windows 10s is not an option. If you want to use Windows, you want to use Windows and not store apps. I mean, I've tried a few. They are usually expensive. You have to pay for them even on a monthly basis sometimes to get rid of the ads or anything like that. And they are usually not beautiful. They are not really that helpful. So I don't really use many apps, but the ones that I wanted to use, I didn't want to pay for them. So whatever you usually do on this, if it's emails, if it's writing documents, if it's browsing the web, watching YouTube videos, this can handle it, especially if you use Edge. Speed and performance is absolutely there. And if you use Firefox, maybe not so much on Chrome unless you use the trackpad or a mouse, it's there. So you shouldn't be all that concerned about, yes, it's not a gaming machine, it's not a video editing machine, and I won't not even want to go into that. That's not what it's supposed to mean, but it is supposed to be a kind of in between, which I think is actually the thing that could replace a laptop for me for casual use, but it could also replace my iPad for media consumption. This is what makes this device so great. And also there's pretty much no heat that comes from it. If you just use it normally, there's obviously no fan. So even in that regard, win. Not quite so much of a win is the battery life. Especially if you don't use Edge, you will notice it, because at first, for my first week, I never even got to 4 hours. I was usually quite close, 3 hours 40, 3 hours and 50, but I did not manage to get 5 or 7 hours, what many people get. Now, once I used Edge for the whole cycle, I actually managed even a little bit over 5 hours, and when I just did a video running test in Edge, I actually managed, I think it was like 7 hours. Let me actually check that, just so I'm not talking any rubbish, because I have my battery stats here. I could actually share this with you. So there are not all of them, some got already deleted by now, some are a little bit weird, but as you can see, 4 hours and 20, 4 hours and 50, 3:30, 3 hours, that was a little bit of an off test, 6.5 hours it was. That was just streaming a video for the whole time until the battery ran out. At a brightness of 65%, let's not forget that. And about 5 hours and 17, which is a good value if I use just Edge. Now, personally, it would be still a very hard transition for me to just use Edge for everything. But with a mix of sometimes using Firefox just because everything's syncing up there, or sometimes referring back to Chrome would work out for me. And then I could maybe even get 5 hours. Obviously, still again, I have to say that like on every review, for some reason, maybe I use a higher brightness or whatever else, and usually I don't use Edge so much, my ratings are lower, but from what I've heard, other people getting 5 to 7 hours. I would say 5 hours, which is not bad. I would have wished for more, because if I do the same tasks on something like a Surface 6 Pro or the Latitude or so, I get about 2 hours more. And I got like, actually even over 8 hours if I only used Edge on the Surface 6 Pro, so it's noticeably much more. I would have wished for like 1 solid hour battery more. So for me, always the threshold is 6 full hours if I use everything normally, which would be only possible for me at all if I would use Edge. If I would use Firefox, and sometimes it wouldn't just work out so much. That's that. Software, yeah. Pen, let's actually get into that one real quick. I have to say I really like this pen a whole lot. Maybe not as much as an S Pen, because that one feels even more so natural, but this does not really feel like writing on glass because it's a very soft tip. Obviously, it even has, this is quite nice, it has an angle detection this time, which you can see here. See, this is nice. It feels good and way better than, for example, the Lenovo does, because the Lenovo feels like way too hard on glass, not so good. I think the Dell one was quite similar, but I don't have it this time here, but the pen is great for writing, typing. Why did I write pause? I don't know. Let's write my name, just so that is also gone. Someone actually asked last time about it. Pen is great. Now let's get to the conclusion. Do I like it? Yes, a whole lot, and it was so close, because the biggest thing for me is the form factor, and that every quality for what it is for its size is actually really good, because it feels great. The display is good. And that brings me actually to my thing. Form factor, nothing to complain, even not the size or maybe the edge, the bezels or anything else. No. Display, great display, but I would wish for a higher resolution. Sound, really good, really loud for a tablet of this size, But I would have wished for it to be a little bit louder, closer to something like the Pro. But wait, it will make all sense soon. Performance gets it done, but I would wish for it to be a little bit better. But also for the battery life, and that's that. What I would have wished for is not, or I mean, I have nothing against the Surface Go because I absolutely get what it's meant to be. It's supposed to be for students. It's supposed to be for casual couch use, but also a little bit of a productive machine in terms of writing and so on. And I get that. Does all of that great. So even though slightly, it's not super cheap, this device. Let's get that out of the way. After all, I mean, this version you can get. I mean, forget the slower version. I would go for the 8GB version. Otherwise, you will notice just too much app reloading and so on. 8GB, 128GB is a nice version, and I've seen that already like 100 euros below the listed price. And with the accessories, it's actually not that expensive anymore. I've seen it for like, I think it was 550 and then attach the pen, so 650 and you are pretty much covered all. Usually it's a little more expensive, but that's actually quite reasonable if you think that an iPad Air Pro costs about that and it's just a tablet. So here, this is actually not as overpriced as I thought. Obviously, there you get the better display and such other things, but what I would have wished for is one more extra model. And no, the name does make no sense, but what I would have wished to have seen is a Surface Go Pro. Not a GoPro, but a Pro version of the Surface Go. So give me a high-res display, give me an even better speaker, give me a little bit more performance, which would have been nice, give me a little bit more battery life. And okay, then you can also charge me a little bit more, because for a device with that form factor, this is so convenient. And with all those qualities being a little bit better, it would have totally replaced my laptop. I wouldn't have used that at all anymore, and I wouldn't have used my iPad anymore. I would use this for everything. And then I would have been fine with paying even $200 more, because just think about it. I can then replace a laptop and a tablet, which is still something that I combine, which is combined more expensive. So maybe, so Microsoft, I think next year's model will be the one to go for. I think next year's model, with SoCs getting, our processors getting a little bit more efficient, we will have more power, but we will get better battery life. We will get a better resolution. Speaker, I mean, I don't think that will change too much. Ports are fine with USB Type-C. Maybe we will get even Thunderbolt. I kind of doubt it a little bit. But then we are there. But for everyone who doesn't have all that crazy high standards like I do, because I want the one machine that replaces everything for me for a little bit more than just great casual tablet replacement use, then this thing is great. I mean, you have to actually use it to get it, why the form factor is so great. Because whenever I had the 6 Pro, I mean, at the end, I would still, at the moment for it now, at least since we don't have a high-end version, would stick with the Surface 6 Pro, because better battery life and everything is just better. I mean, it's heavier and it's not quite as convenient anymore, but it's a pretty much no compromise device. So that was it. 18. Ooh, schade. This got longer than I expected to. This is when I start to ramble and go off the trail. But I hope you enjoyed it. At least I did. Okay. Oh, that was too loud for my mic. Until next time. Bye.